Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the UTI Mutual Fund Swatantra series powered by ET Now. This is a year-long investor education initiative through which our fundamental aim is to help you get rich over the long term. And we're going to do that by breaking down even the most simple investment idea so you can start investing today, and over the long term you can have a nice handsome corpus of money. This week, we're focusing on a very interesting set of audience members. These are all young people who are working, so they'll have a lot of questions about saving tax, about starting their first investments, and about saving for the future. Now remember, if you have a question, it's very easy to reach us. All you have to do is log on to our website, indiainvestkaro.com, or you can tweet out your question, #InvestKaro. I have two wonderful guests in the studio with me who are going to help me answer questions today. I want to do a quick round of introductions. Dhruv Mehta is an independent financial advisor. And Debashit Mohanty is the president and country head, retail at UTI Mutual Fund AMC. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to get the ball rolling by asking you one question that a lot of people in their jobs will have right now, and that has to do with tax. In my opinion, every time a young person pays tax without using every avenue of tax saving, they're actually losing out not just on that money, but they're losing out on the compounding effect that they can get over the years. Dhruv, tell us why it's so important right now for every young person to make the most of every possible tax saving opportunity that they have.
It's so simple that the government is, in fact subsidizing you when you make your investments. That's the way that the government is encouraging people to save money and to start the habit of saving. And typically when one starts earning, one doesn't like paying taxes, and anything that can make you save tax is normally, nudges the person to save tax. And all across it's a very strong tendency. Most people start their initial investments because of a tax incentive. The person, the HR person or the tax person in the company asks you, for your declaration, okay, have you made any tax incentives? Otherwise, I'm going to cut your tax. And that triggers off, okay, where do I invest?
But that's a double-edged sword, because then what happens is I only have 1 month or like 1 week to quickly make those decisions. I call up some family friend who I know is selling products and I buy the first thing he gives me, which is not the best way to do it, is it?
Yeah, it's not the best way to do it. It is a trigger. But if you yourself plan that, okay, I need to save money. So if you start with that objective that I need to save some money for a rainy day and for my retirement, and then you think, okay, I should do in a very tax efficient manner, that should be the right way of approaching it.
The other beautiful thing is that, when Dhruv said a small amount of money is 500 rupees a month, which is the average amount you spend when you watch a movie or when you just go out, for a meal with your friends. 500 rupees a month is what you can put aside right now. And Debashis, I want to bring you in here. Traditionally, and a lot of our parents I know will also advise us the same thing, buy an endowment plan or buy a whole life plan, because somehow we continuously believe that that is the only way to save tax. But that is not true. There are various options available to us. There is the ELSS, which is a beautiful product. There's the NPS that's now available. There's the PPF. There are very wide range of choices. So how can a young person decide what is best for him and not just pick the first option?
Yeah. This is the beginning of this person's career. He started earning a year or 2 years back. He has a long life to go. So the first is setting some goals. You can match the goal of building up a corpus while saving tax. So this, the one which you told, this endowment plans and other plans, that thing should not come to a young earner's mind right now at the beginning. In fact, we will suggest if insurance is one of the objective, then the term insurance, that one should think of himself or his near and dear ones. But then the longer goals like retirement, which Dhruv just told, normally it doesn't come to one's mind when you just started your life. But that is a very long goal, and for that long-term investment is required and regular investment is required. Early investment you must start, and there also you can save tax, and that NPS, and there are retirement product in mutual fund space also. There are fund houses who have got approved product which by investing in which you can save tax. You can think of that and start early investing. It will match your retirement goal, and also your tax saving purposes will be served.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, so what I would like to add is that when you start saving, and if the horizon is very long, I think most of us see even in a profession, like Sachin Tendulkar was a great cricketer, but he started playing cricket at the age of 6. So to achieve excellence, you need to start very early. Warren Buffett, the famous world's greatest investor, started investing at the age of 11. And that's how, the power of compounding works when you start early. So at an early age, if you set your goal, and you set your goal that you want to create a corpus for you, then the money that you need to save should be growing, and should be growing faster than inflation if it really has to materialize. So I think the biggest awareness that you should have is in the financial markets you have instruments which are fixed income, like a fixed deposit, which gives a particular fixed rate of return, but the rate of return is low because it is an assured rate. You will get a low rate of return. And there is equity as an asset class which gives high rate of return over the long period, not over the short period. So this is a big difference which people should realize, that if my goal in life is to create a larger amount and my destination is far away, I need a vehicle which grows rapidly but certainly over a long period of time. It can have some setbacks in between. So that should be very clear, that what sort of a vehicle are you taking. You should become aware. So you have fixed income as an asset class which might give you 8-9% steady returns over time, and you have equity which has lot of volatility in the short run. But if you are saving small amounts as you start your career, you are saving small amounts and you put that money consistently over a long period of time, maybe instead of 8% you'll end up at 15%, and that creates a dramatic difference over 30-40 years.
I'm going to take a very, very quick break right now. We're going to come back. Lots of questions from the audience. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the UTI Mutual Fund Swatantra series powered by ET Now. We have a lot of questions from our viewers, so we'll go straight to it. There's a young lady at the back. Go ahead.
Hi. I've been working for a little over a year now, and I've primarily invested in the PPF and LIC. So I wanted to know, from the tax saving perspective, what is the benefit of a mutual fund?
So from a tax saving perspective, just as the benefit you get in PPF and in LIC, you have certain funds, equity funds of the mutual fund, which also get the same benefit. So the difference would be that PPF gives you an assured return. The government gives you a return of about 8.5%, which is tax free. Life insurance is a combination, it would depend on the policy that you have taken. Typically a life insurance policy over a very long period again gives maybe 6 to 8% return. But there is obviously the return is lower because there is also an element, either it could be cost or it could be also the insurance charges. Whereas the mutual fund is an investment only into equities, and therefore over a long period of time that is likely to appreciate more. So the differences are typically in the way the money is invested. PPF is something which the government is borrowing and giving you a fixed rate. Life insurance is you're giving money to life insurance company as a premium. Typically a life insurance company invests predominantly into debt because they are looking at protection and providing safety, safety of the sum assured. And the mutual fund is actually investing into equity so that it creates growth of capital.
At this age, they will have also employees provident fund. So the provident fund also provides you tax benefit. If your objective is saving tax, the EPF part is there. Get a term insurance, that will also take care of this thing. I don't think at this, if you seek my advice personally, that you just limit your investment for tax saving to as much you require to save tax, and you calculate how much is already getting cut from your employees provident fund and get a term insurance. Then remaining all you invest in an equity linked saving schemes which provide you a tax benefit in mutual fund.
So basically, there are a few things you must have. Health insurance you must have. It's not negotiable. So whatever you're paying for health insurance is tax deductible. If you have someone depending on your salary, you must have life insurance, which is that term policy which is priced beautifully right now. For 8,000 rupees a year, you can buy 1 crore rupees worth of insurance. So those two things you have to have. And then you decide, if I were to ask you what your goals are, you'll say, I want to travel next year, I want to get married, I want to buy a house, I want to retire. So there's a time range, right? Everything that is 5 years and after 5 years from now has to be invested in equity, because that's the only way to do it. Everything that's less than 5 years, so it's going to happen in the next 1 year or the next 2 years, has to find its way into a debt investment. Now, pick tax deductible investments. So you're actually investing for your goals, but pick the ones that will give you a tax deduction. So instead of doing an equity mutual fund, do the one that will give you a tax deduction. And instead of doing like a normal fixed deposit, pick the fixed deposit that will give you a tax deduction. So there are options in every category. You just pick the ones that are tax deductible and you submit those proofs. You keep the goal in mind. Your tax saving is not separate from your goal-based investing. There's a question over there. Yes.
Hi, since mutual funds are highly subjected to market risk, as we all know, so how do we know when to enter into the market and when to exit? Like, there are two options, open-ended mutual funds and close-ended mutual funds. Can you throw some light on that?
She started telling that it is subject to highly risk. The biggest risk, according to me, is remain uninvested or not invested in the equity market. If you know, there are some measurement numbers, we call it index or indices. And if you have observed that in one such index is Sensex, which was started in 1979 as 100, and now it has reached 28,000. That means 2,800 times it has grown. That is the power of compounding or the growth over a long period of time it happens. Somebody who has not invested, he has lost this. As a result, the other investments, he could not even beat the inflation. So participating in equity is part of your informed risk that you are taking, but for a better purpose. For example, if retirement is a goal, which we are talking about tax saving, retirement should be first considered, as if that requires investment for 30 years, 35 years. In that long years, the subject to market risk will not affect your investment, otherwise it will benefit you on a longer period of time.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. As you mentioned, in 1979, when it started on 100 and now it reached up to 28,000 points. So I just wanted to clarify one thing. Then it was representing 50 companies which were different, and now it is representing 50 companies, market capitalization of 50 companies which are different. So is it true that the person who had invested right then, is it true?
I'll answer that. Very brilliant question. The answer to that is, then also suppose you are talking about Sensex, 30 stocks were there, now also head count is 30, but not necessarily same companies continued, because companies grow, companies die, companies lost their. So who will decide which stocks? So here comes the idea of mutual fund. That means let some expert manage my risk, manage my investment worries. They will do the research, study, choose depending upon the market scenarios. Hence risk is eliminated or rather mitigated and diversified, because they don't buy just one stock, they buy different sectors, they choose what is good for that point of time. On your behalf, from your point of view, there is a regulator who sets the rules, and there is an offer document which is the guiding principle for the fund manager. Fund manager is an expert, so he does the economies of scale comes there, the research expertise comes there. So you don't have to worry, somebody else takes your worry and invests in a manner which is beneficial to you, or he tries to do that. There will be volatility, there will be fluctuations, but one should not worry, because in a very long year, number of years, it doesn't matter. What it matters is whether you remain invested or not. And if your goals are very long, goals have a long number of years, you must invest even if it is subject to market risk. That is just to tell buyers, be aware. There is a caveat emptor, we call it. So you must know there is a risk, but not investing after knowing the risk element is the greatest risk.
All right, I want to quickly take one more
Can
question.
I add on this
yes, please,
point?
Go ahead.
As you said, the 30 companies have changed. So the analogy I would give you is like a cricket team. India is playing cricket for the last so many years. So you had Sunil Gavaskar at one point of time, then you had Sachin, and then you had Dhoni, and today you have Virat Kohli. So what happens is, the composition changes, but the game, you see, the game is the same. So again, it is like, today you are familiar with 5-day cricket and 50 overs match and 20 overs match. So depending on, as Faye said, the destination and the time, the risk is more relevant to the time horizon that you have. So if your journey is very short and you need to put your money away only for a few days, then obviously equity is not the asset class. Then the time to invest is when you have the money. If your horizon is less, if it is 1 month, 3 months, there is some requirement, 6 months, then you look at safe, debt instruments. It could be a fixed deposit, it could be a debt mutual fund.
So, for example, a lot of people say that, okay, I've invested for the last 30 years and now the day I'm going to retire, if the market crashes, what do I do? So you have to remember that as you get closer and closer to your goal, you enter that within 5 years period. So you take the money out, you start moving it to a fixed deposit. As the goal comes closer and closer. So when that goal arrives and it's time for you to retire or it's time for you to buy your house, you've moved completely into a non-risk asset and you've kept your money safe. We're going to have to take another very quick break. When we come back, more questions from our audience. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the UTI Mutual Fund Swatantra series powered by ET Now. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have an audience of young people in the studio who are raring to go with their questions. I'm going to take a question from the side. The young man over there. Go ahead.
Can you tell us about NPS?
See, Government of India decided to start this national pension scheme because only 11% of the working population who were wage earners or salary earners are getting some amount of government pension benefits. That is, after retirement, you will get a fixed sum subject to further inflationary benefits till you are alive. And thereafter, your dependent will get 50% of that. But that benefit is not available to 89% of the populations. So for that, government thinks, and plus those pensions were not depending on the defined contribution, it was defined benefit. Defined benefit means depending upon your last drawn salary, the benefit is already pre-decided. So that means the managing that corpus was a difficult part for the government. There was deficit of what is required and what money is going, what rate it was going. So they decided to convert this thing to defined contribution. You contribute in a particular manner and that will be managed by professional fund managers, and there will be option of higher equity portion, lower equity portion and balanced portion, and then based on the growth that the competing fund managers, they will finally bring the result. Depending on that, the benefit will be given to you. NPS carries tax benefits. NPS is well regulated. NPS has got a solid operational NSDL conducts this R&D activity for this. In fact, all young people should consider NPS as one of the possible investment avenue when you join. This is along with EPF, along with your ELSS, this also gives you tax benefit, plus this will be long-term savings avenue.
What is the purpose of the pension scheme? The purpose is that you accumulate saving while you are earning, and then when you retire, you start getting a recurring income. See, in our working lifetime, you get a salary, as a salaried employee, a salary every month till you retire. So the purpose of a pension, basically the purpose of a pension is that you accumulate till you are earning, and the moment you retire, you start getting another source of a recurring income.
My name is Abhishek. Based on what parameter should we select a mutual fund? There are many mutual funds who claim they are giving around 40-50% returns annually. considering I'm a risk averse or a risk neutral guy, which are the parameters that I look forward before investing?
First, you need to decide what is your goal. Then, having decided the goal, what categories of fund or what asset class you need to invest in, that question you need to ask first. Having decided that my goal is, say, retirement or child's education, and I have a 15-year time horizon, and what asset class best suited the purpose, that will be decided. That in the long horizon, equity is the better asset class, or you can be combination of X percentage equity, X percent of debt. Having decided that, in that category, you will have to find out whether there are subcategories. Suppose equity, there are diversified, which takes care of not only one particular multi-cap or small cap or large cap. You have to find out a diversified which suits your purpose. It's not a sector, it's not a narrow asset class. Then having decided that, then which fund in that category suits my purposes. For that, you need to see a consistent return paying or a history of consistencies there. How consistency can be found out? There is a small calculations, standard deviation. Standard deviation is how it deviates from the average. Suppose a 10-year history is there. In the 10 years history, there may be some time when the fund has given 90% return, or sometime it is minus 30% return, sometimes 3% return, sometimes 0 return, sometimes 100% return. So what is the average in that 10 year, and each year what is the difference from the average? The average of those deviations is the standard deviation. And I can tell you a normal comparison we do while explaining this is Virendra Sehwag and Rahul Dravid. One player can hit triple century or even go out on a duck, but the other guy is more consistent because you see the standard deviation is less. So consistency should be the one factor which you should find out determining a particular fund. See, you told that there are fund houses who are claiming they have given, then nobody claims falsely because all the records are well regulated, NAVs are audited and calculated. Those are historical facts. You will find last year was a good year for equity, so you will find most of the fund houses showing 50%, 55%, 60% return. 2008 may be a bad year, and many people have given minus return, negative returns. But you have to see, given the consistency over the long period of time, the fund house is taking your care nearer to your goal, care of your objective. So you should choose on that. If you have difficulty in choosing, seek advice.
In fact, there's another measure you can use, and that's called the category average. So to take that batsman analogy a little further, what it will do is it will take all the opening batsmen of all the teams and take out an average of them. And you compare your guy to what the average is. So you're not comparing him, say, to someone who's coming a little lower down the order or someone who comes into pinch hit, but you're comparing him to everybody else who is doing the exact same thing. So compare your fund to the category average and see if he's consistently better than average, because you don't want someone who's middle. You want someone who's on the top, right? So consistently better than the average, and then you'll know, because if it's been a bad market, the whole average will come down and he will still be a little better.
And compare with comparables.
Compare with comparables.
So you can't compare a sector fund, a banking sector fund with a diversified equity fund. So then the benchmark, you see the benchmark are same, the investment objectives are same, then that you group as a categories, find out the category average, see who else does better than the category.
All right, unfortunately we've completely run out of time on this show. Thank you so much for tuning in, gentlemen. Thank you for spending time with us. I know there are more questions, but we can continue to sit and chat after the show is over. Remember, if you have a question, all you have to do is log on to our website, indiainvestkaro.com, or you can tweet out your question, #InvestKaro. It will be our pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching.
Brought to you by UTI Mutual Fund. हक एक बेहतर जिंदगी का.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all the scheme-related documents carefully.